Unmute. Good morning, fellow gardeners. Welcome to our straw bale gardening workshop. This workshop is being presented by the Master Gardeners of Placer County. My name is Donna Olson, and I will be your moderator today. As you saw in the opening slides, this workshop is being recorded and will soon be uploaded to our YouTube website. The link to the video and to the handouts will be found on our public website, pcmg.ucanr.org. If you have questions during the talk, please post them on the chat menu and the presenters will answer them at the end. Our presenters today are Jan White and Tasha Chalfant. Jan and Tasha have both been master gardeners since 2015. Jan has always had a veggie garden, but she said she's learned so much more after becoming a master gardener. And Tasha told me that she believes that growing things makes people hopeful and happy, which I totally agree with, and enjoys being part of that. These two ladies have had wonderful success in the past growing straw bale gardens, as you will see in their presentation. So I think we're ready to go. Jan and Tasha, it's yours.
Thank you. All right, Jan, you want to take us through these beginning slides?
Sure. Now I'm not seeing my slides on my screen. Anyway, welcome to today's workshop about straw bale gardening. We're so glad you are wanting to learn more about it. And it's a fun and rewarding project that is just wonderful, and kids can even enjoy it too. Our agenda looks like this. Who are master gardeners? Why garden with straw bales? Planning and preparation, the conditioning of the bales, the planting and watering of the bales, harvesting, and at the end, it's our big reward, some beautiful compost. Next slide. Who are master gardeners? We are the Master Gardeners of Placer County who offer research-based sustainable gardening and composting information to the public. Next slide.
Good morning. So I'm Tasha, and I'll start talking about the advantages of straw bale gardening. So first of all, the most important thing to know is that it is straw bale gardening, not hay bale gardening. So every part of this that we're talking about, we are exclusively talking about straw bales. The hay has the seeds. You're going to be growing things that you do not want to grow. So when we're talking about the other parts of this, always remember it's straw bale. So one of the advantages, the main advantage, I think, is that it's so cool. It is such a unique way to grow. Everybody looks at it and thinks, what the heck, how could that work? So it's just kind of fun and different. We've all grown in different types of environments, but this, I think, is just a really fun way to do it. One of the advantages is that it can be located anywhere. You can put it on cement, you can put your bales on a porch, on some type of a platform that has wheels, in a shopping cart, or you can put it on the ground. That's what I do at my own house. The startup costs are very low. You don't need any soil. You're just dealing with your bale. You don't need really any tools other than a finger and a trowel. That helps. And you get to choose the height of your bed, which is kind of nice the older we all get. So if you want to not bend over, then you could put it on a raised type of platform. Another cool thing is that this extends your growing season tremendously. For instance, if your ground is still, let's say 50 to 55 degrees out, everybody's excited, they want to start planting things, that's too cold. The bale temperature inside your bale will be about 85 degrees when you do it, what we're talking about here. So you can plant much earlier and extend that growing season. You can plant on all surface areas of your bale, top, the sides. It just looks really beautiful at every exposed surface area. It can be planted. And you'll see some of our pictures coming up that they become very full. You don't, it's impossible to overwater a straw bale because the very point of this is the water's going into the straw, it retains in there, so it can use its own water. If you are overwatering, it pours out and you know immediately to stop. There's a lot less labor involved with this. Don't really even have to weed either. And at the end, you have super compost. So there's really no waste involved. Jan?
Okay, I'm going to talk about the planning. And Tasha and I found that our favorite research book came from a gentleman named Joel Karsten, Karsten. I'm going to show you his book. It's called Straw Bale Gardens Complete. And it shows layouts and with wonderful illustrations. And it will show you the chart, the summary of the conditioning chart, so you know just how to condition your bales for the 12 days. You can go organic or you can go regular fertilizer. You have to choose a sunny site. It needs 6 to 8 hours of sunlight a day. And as Tasha said, it can be on a driveway or a deck or a grassy slope. To go purchase your bales, we go to feed supply places. There's one in Roseville on Douglas Boulevard. There's one in Newcastle, in Auburn, and there's one in Loomis too. So you, as Tasha says, buy the harvested straw bales, not the hay bales, because you don't want any weeds popping up, any seeds germinating. The hay straw bales have the hollow stems, which are wonderful in holding in the moisture when you start watering with your soakers. We also loved the rice straw bales. It's a finer stem, and in the end, it gives you a wonderful, beautiful compost at the end of the year. We also used a wattle at one point, which is a little more pricey than your bales of straw, but it was a project I saw down at UC Davis in their Bee Haven setup. So you coil up the wattle, you fill it with compost, and use your soaker hose to wind up, and it looks like a little beehive. It's just wonderful. The only trick is you do have to slice through the plastic netting when you go to plant your starts or your seeds. But we had a wonderful return with chard and onions and bacopa on the top. You can plant your flowers too. Okay.
And Jan likes nasturtiums.
Under the bales, if you're on a driveway or a deck, you might want to put landscape fabric, not plastic though, that traps the moisture too much. If you are in a garden with a lot of gophers, you might want to put a rectangle of hardware cloth. So you have to make your decision there. Now in the planning, the setup of the bales, we generally use 6 bales in a U shape, And you can do it in rows also, 4 to 6 feet apart. I'm going to show you a bale, a miniature bale, because I want you to see there's a proper way to set up your bale. And I have a miniature bale here. Here are the cords. Often on a real bale, there are 3 cords, but you're going to want to set your bale down with the cords on the side so that you have the top area for planting. So there's supposedly a cut side and a folded side, but it really doesn't matter as long as you have the top free for your planting. Trellises are necessary if you want to plant tomatoes or beans. Once we made a trellis out of PVC pipe. It was a little wobbly, so Tasha's father came in and made us a wonderful sturdy trellis out of wood, so that was good. You can also use metal fence posts, metal T-posts, and bang them into the ground and use 2x4 boards over the top and do your wiring in between. So I think about that's about all on the planning and the setup of the bales. Next slide.
So conditioning the bales, Jan talked about that. And the way we have done this, we look to Joel Karsten's book, the Straw Bale Gardening book, as, I mean, he is our guru. I would love to meet that guy one day. But in his book, he has a conditioning summary chart. And that is what we print off and we stick with religiously. It's essentially a 2-week commitment, and it's a very small commitment, but you have to do this for 2 weeks and you have to stick with the recipe. The point of it is you're essentially creating a controlled compost for a 2-week period. You are going to figure out your target planting date. Let's say it's April the 15th. You're going to count back 2 weeks, and that's when you're going to begin your 2-week conditioning process. What you're using for this is your typical fertilizers that you can buy at any nursery. It's important to understand your NPK on the packages that you're buying. So N, we know, stands for nitrogen, P is for phosphorus, and the K is for potassium. And it's important that you're using the proper fertilizers at the proper time. It sounds complicated the way I'm describing it, but it's really not. The first part of it that you do, and there's 2 different options when you do Joel Karsten's way. You can do the organic version or the inorganic version, or regular version, I guess is what it is. We typically have done the organic version. It typically takes slightly more the quantity of these items, but we've just kind of preferred to do that. So the first series of days, which are about 10 days, you're going to only be adding the nitrogen. That means that you can get lawn fertilizer with at least 20%. You do not want slow release. You do not want any herbicides. There's one that we like in particular. I buy this one at Home Depot, and I think it's Milorganite. I don't know how to say that, but Milorganite is what it looks like. We really like that one. So what you do is with the recipe is you put 3 cups of nitrogen, just sprinkle it on the top of each bale. So when we have our 6 bales stretched out, it's 3 cups on each one. And then you get your soaker hose or your nozzle, and you just spray and spray and spray. The point is you're kind of trying to drive the nitrogen and the water down into your bale. And so each day it starts receiving a little more. It does not disappear. It will stay on the top there. So it looks like soil, but it's not. It's just straight nitrogen. So the recipe, what it says, the first day you put 3 cups. Day 2, you skip. You don't do anything, but you can water. Day 3, you do 3 cups again. So it's kind of that you're just trying to feed it every other day, but you're watering it every day to get that soaking down into, so the internal area of your straw bale is composting in there. The very end, okay, day 10 is when your final stretch, not the end, I should say. That's when you add your phosphorus and your potassium. You can also at that point, like what's displayed here is just an all-purpose fertilizer where the NPK numbers are 10, 10, 10. Mushrooms may start to grow out of your bale. That's good. It's great. Shows that things are thriving in there. They're composting, and they end up dying off as your season goes on. So that's actually a great thing. It might smell a little weird, but it doesn't necessarily stink. It just feels like things are working. My favorite thing is just to shove your finger in, and it's crazy to realize how incredibly warm it is inside of there. I also have one of the tall thermometers that you can put in a compost bin or in a bed or anything like that. I'll shove it in there sometimes too, but just using your finger to see how warm it is usually just enough to know that. So at the end of that cycle of the conditioning, then you're ready to plant. So we go back to Jan.
Yes. And the bales should now feel you can stick your finger in and it feels like warm bath water. It may not look quite like your compost in your compost bin yet, but it's working away. It is cooking away. And this will give you a chance to plant much earlier. We planted in March when the real ground is still cold in wintertime, but our bales are warm and ready to receive their babies. So you can plant the nursery starts, or you can use seeds also. But if you plant the nursery starts and you have a peat pot, remove the little peat pot first, and then dig a small hole with your trowel, work it around a bit. You can add a small amount of sterile plant mix, not garden soil, because your garden soil might have diseases in it and weeds. So use a sterile plant mix. And then in the little hole, you add your plant, a little bit of plant mix and a dose of water. If you want to do some seeds on the top of the bale, you have to spread about a 2-inch layer of sterilized plant mix on the top of the bale. Again, not garden soil. And tamp down the plant mix till it's nice and firm, and do your seeds, and then keep the bale moist on top until the seeds germinate. And as Tasha says, you can plant all sides of the bale, top, sides, and ends. We've even stuck potatoes in 10 to 12 inches deep, and had strawberries coming out the sides, and herbs and zucchini and cucumbers, and not mint. Mint is invasive. We did that once, and oh, does mint love a nice moist bale. So no mint. You want to avoid tall plants too, like corn. They need more space than a straw bale. We plant flowers around the bottoms too for our important pollinators to keep them happy. And even though I did a plant chart at the beginning, I would be sneaking in nasturtium seeds or sunflower seeds, because the sunflowers grow tall and you can strap it to the trellis too. So marigolds and bacopa and nasturtiums, and again, you'll see mushrooms. Don't eat them, but that means your bale is really ready and delicious. Okay, I think that's about all. Next.
So for watering, it's really easy. What we have done is a soaker hose and a timer, and make sure your timer has fresh batteries. After you've done the conditioning is when we put the soaker hoses and the timer on. So after conditioning, before planting, you don't want to try to string the soaker hose around your new starts that you've just put in. You really don't have to water these that much. Once you've conditioned them, they've retained so much water. I know we get really hot in this area, so don't just leave them to be. But we can do something like 10 minutes every 4 or 5 days, if that. And again, it dries out on the top a little bit, but just stick your finger in there and see if there's moisture in there. That's where the roots are. That's where everything's going. So pretty small investment. I have these at my house every year. I think my soaker hose is going on something like 6 years now. Yeah, you just don't have to purchase these every year at all. You have to purchase the bales, but not the soaker hose or the timer. But it's just really an easy way to do this. Now here's some pictures of some of our harvests.
This is 2 months later. 2 months later, it's like magic, and they look like big giant chia pets there. We are doing so well. We didn't have trouble with insects really. Once slugs came, but we set out little trays of, I think I put beer in a little dish for them.
I'm not supposed to admit that.
Uh-oh.
A home remedy, but it was
that's not a reason.
QC Day was authorized.
That's true. And it shows our PVC pipe for a trellis. It's a little wobbly though, so I think Tasha's wooden one that came later, it was better for the tomatoes and the beans to grow up, and the sunflower too. So it was just wonderful to watch this happen much earlier in spring than most people were planting in their cold home gardens. Okay, Tasha.
And here on this lower right-hand corner, you can see the wooden trellis that was built. This was definitely the end of the season, but
Yeah.
It was very overgrown. I lost Jan in there a few times. There's some more pictures of the harvest. And one of the, well, and you can see from the picture here with the Swiss chard in the middle, that was a second round on these bales, which
So this is our fall planting, yes. So you pull out the spent tomatoes and the spent beans, and you don't have to condition again. Your bales may be getting a little leaning and collapsing, but that's okay. They're still very fertile inside. So you plant for the fall and for your winter harvest, your cauliflower, your brassicas, your broccoli, your cabbages, and just keep on harvesting throughout the season.
look at Jan with all of those tomatoes.
Those tomatoes were in December. We picked them in December. Yep. Okay, well, at the end though is our reward. It's the beautiful compost that you can collect at the end of the year. The collapsed bales make just delicious compost. The rice bale, as I said, really makes the best compost in my opinion. And also at that time, we watched the potatoes rolling out of the bales, just like gumballs. We had planted them inside and out they came at the end of the year. So bag up your compost and you can use a compost in the rest of your garden. We call it black gold, but it's just a little reward at the end that is so wonderful. Okay.
And here's some more pictures, and that's Don White, Jan's husband, making a guest appearance in a lot of these. He was always quite the helper. We certainly appreciated him. He's part of the team. So again, we adore straw bale gardening. And after we had graduated in 2015, we thought, well, let's try something fun and different. And the two of us united on this straw bale gardening. And it's just been a great experience. She's a fun partner to work with, and we've really taken to it. And it's just kind of our thing now. It's a really enjoyable type of gardening that we hope other people experiment with.
So thank you. Are there any questions that people may have that we could answer?
Yeah, I'm not seeing any. If any of you have a question, go ahead and type it into the chat so we can see it. Be sure you address it to everybody, and we'll see how that goes. But I am not seeing any.
Okay.
So thank you all for joining into our workshop. And
Oh, here's one. I'm sorry,
Jan.
Donna. There's one question.
Oh,
that
there
just
is a
popped
question
up.
now?
Yeah. Can you use liquid fertilizer?
I have never done that, or we have never done that. In fact, I think in the book it specifically says no. It would rush through there. I think you need the nitrogen and the carbon to do that magic, and the liquid would expedite it too quickly. But try it on one of the bales.
Okay, two people have asked the same question. Where can you get the sterile planting mix? Is that just regular planting mix that you would buy at the nursery or at one of the big box stores?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's easy to find. It just is sterile and shouldn't have any weed seeds in it.
Oh, okay. And now Beth asks, the slideshow showed 14 days until the complete fertilizer, but I heard you say 10 days. Is the complete fertilizer going on the last 4 days of the 2-week period?
It does on one of those days. And that's where the, if you allot 2 weeks, that's the message I want you to take away. The variation there depends on whether you go the organic route or the non-organic route. There's different days that you do that and how long that stays on there.
The
But again,
organic-
you usually do
organic
one treatment.
Yeah, the organic route takes, you have to wait 5 more days till you're ready to plant. But just
Another question. How many bales is too many?
never.
No number.
And that's the cool thing in that Joel Karsten book, and you can even look him up online. He has a lot of material online. The configurations that he shows just by the drawings and photographs of other bales, it's remarkable. I mean, people get really artistic and creative, and they can do huge, like a farm of it, which
Yeah.
is remarkable. Yeah, see.
Rows and rows.
And see, that didn't work for us in our old demonstration garden because of the irrigation, right? We had one spigot for that soaker hose to come off of, and we're not crafty enough to stop and start the soaker hose. So that's what I would say is, as far as how you're setting it up, we've always done it to where we have one base of the soaker hose and then we're stretching it out.
Mhm.
Okay, here's another question. Did you experience any pest or bug increase as the straw became waterlogged and began decomposing?
I don't think so. I
no,
mean, that
no,
we just watched it, and
Yeah.
we didn't let it get waterlogged. But no, I mean, slugs at one point, I think it was like a really wet winter,
Okay.
was when we had that. I mean, we've had frogs jump out when we're, but it's never been a problem that I thought we had.
Okay. And another person is, Grace is asking, is the name Joel Garsten, Garsten?
No, it is Karsten, Karsten.
Oh, Kar. Okay, Joel Karsten.
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you.
This is
And last question here. Do all farm supply stores have the rice straw?
they should actually. We did our shopping at the Auburn.
Echo Valley, I think is what it was called.
Pardon?
Echo Valley or Echo
Echo
Ridge?
Valley, yeah, on
on
Nevada
Nevada
Street, yeah. And they have a whole array of different types of straw and hay that you don't want to buy. Yeah.
But we've called too before, it just, called,
Yeah.
do you have the rice bales right now? If so, because we would usually do 3 rice and 3 wheat, just so that we could see which one we preferred. And we both favor the rice bales.
And luckily, Tasha had a pickup, so we could haul it all in one fell swoop. I don't know if feed stores deliver for an extra fee or not, but that could be a good question.
Okay, I don't
Good.
see any more questions coming in. Thank you, Jan and Tasha, for sharing all this information. It looks like so much fun. And I just want to remind everybody that the links to the handouts and to the workshop will be on our website in the next couple of days. And that's at pcmg.ucanr.org. And you'll see it under virtual gardening workshops. We also have future virtual workshops under upcoming events. So if you run into problems in your garden, or if you just have a question, click on the Ask a Master Gardener link on that website, and you can put your question or problem in, and somebody will get back to you by email in the next couple of days. Also, if you live in a different country or county or a different area of the world, you need to consult your local master gardeners or experts about geographical or climatic differences that you might be seeing in your garden. So we'd like to thank you all for coming today, and we sure hope to see you again at another one of our workshops. Thanks, everybody.